Eugene Levy is obviously very famous, but he's rarely the main character in the movie, except when he shows up.
I can't dance, I've got 2 left feet.
You know he's gonna steal the show.
I was born with 2 left feet.
Nobody does deadpan better. And while yes, he really should learn to knock, Eugene's dad's character in the American Pie movies has become the understanding pops many of you wished you had growing up.
Drip! It's not what it looks like.
Of course, he's not just in the movies, he writes them too. Eugene and Christopher Guest have teamed up on storylines for 4 mainly improvised comedies that include the classics Waiting for Guffman and The Mighty Wind.
Thank you so much for letting Mitch and I do this again.
Eugene won a Grammy for that film, also starring his longtime friend Catherine O'Hara. You may recall, both of them were part of SCTV.
Gee, I can't tell you what a thrill it is to have you on my first variety special.
SCTV, we know, a huge influence on the next generation of comedians, from Kids in the Hall to Ben Stiller to Conan to myself, even though I'm not a comedian. And the success of the show only gave the world more evidence that Canada is one seriously funny place. Eugene is one of our best reasons why.
There he goes again!
In fact, he just became a member of the Order of Canada earlier this month. But before SCTV, there's the infamous Toronto production of Godspell, starring a young Eugene, Martin Short, Andrea Martin, and in her stage debut, the wonderful Gilda Radner.
Dear Rosanna Dana.
Now, since her death from cancer in 1989, Gildas Club was established to provide social and emotional support to people touched by cancer. Their annual gala is called It's Always Something, and this year, Eugene takes the stage alongside some of this country's funniest to raise money and to pay tribute to a friend.
Welcome back to the show, Eugene Levy. Hello, George. Hey, bud. Hi. Welcome back. Hi, everybody. All right.
Wow.
Nice, right?
It is nice.
Still get that warm reception everywhere you go?
It's nice to, not like this. Not like this. Only here. That's why I love coming back.
I'm glad you
love to be sitting in this chair, being interviewed by the best in the business.
Oh, come on. You're very kind. Thank you. We worked this deal out, and that's very sweet of you to say. You've got a lot going on.
It's true.
How, just, when you get the Order of Canada, is your life appreciably different? What have you noticed? Could you get special discounts, or what happens?
I get a lot more respect now that I'm a member of the Order of Canada.
By other members?
No, just from everybody. I think I'm now a lord.
Ooh.
Lord Levy, I think.
That's pretty good.
No, it's pretty amazing. It was, you know, it was a great day. I've never been prouder to be me. No, I was very, very proud to be a Canadian that day. That was a pretty unbelievable day, getting the Order of Canada.
When you're standing there, what are you thinking about? What's going through your mind?
Well, you know, as I said to the Governor General when he was putting the medal around my neck, I said I feel more like the court jester than a you know, part of the royalty in the room.
Right.
You know, because everybody there is just, you know, they have their accomplishments are just, you know, amazing, and I'm like a character guy, you know, so yeah, I feel like, what am I doing here? You know, really. But it was a pretty amazing night. I'll tell you what the most amazing thing about that day was. At the black tie dinner, after the event, and I'm sitting beside the Governor General's wife, and he's at the next table, and just as they're about to serve the entree for the dinner, I feel a kidney stone coming on. And it's not, and I've had them before, and I know it's like, you know, so you know, and cut to, I now have the Governor General and his wife running around Rideau Hall looking for painkillers.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
You got them to be your drug dealer.
Well, they couldn't have been sweeter, and they couldn't have been more helpful. And the night ended okay. It was you know, but you know, I said, well, this can't happen a lot here, and they said no, first time. So.
Well, do you wrestle with the decision to tell them what it is? Do you lie about it?
No,
first?
you know what it was. I was sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, I've had them before, and it's like, you know, now I've got to. At what point do I tell the Governor General's wife that this is what's going on? Because at a certain point, if it comes on really strong, you know, you're going to be carried out. You won't be able to walk out of the room. So I said, I'm thinking, okay, now it's getting bad, but it wasn't getting worse. So I made it through the whole dinner, didn't eat a thing. That was the sad part. It was a good-looking dinner, too. And I told her after the dinner, and then she was, she was very fine. She said, "Oh, we'll find something." I said, "I may need some prescription drugs tonight in Ottawa, and it's late. Do you guys have any pull in this town?"
They called Stephen Harper. He's like, "We're on it."
No, they just couldn't have been more helpful, and it was a great day.
Well, you don't strike me as the kind of guy who spends a lot of time reflecting on your career, but that moment gives you a chance to do it without being, arrogant or self-important. Did you reflect on some of the career in that moment?
Honestly, it's not so much reflecting on your career. I can't believe I'm here. That's all I'm thinking about, And I kept thinking about my parents who are no longer here, thinking, how proud they, would have been, and if they're looking down, I'm sure they're, beaming. And you feel good for your family, and you feel good for your friends, and you just feel good. I mean, honestly, I still don't understand how it happened, but there we go.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of things in a successful career that we don't really understand. They just exist. I remember you saying once when you first took the American Pie role of Jim's dad, you never even thought about taking that role, but now, think of how long that franchise has been around, and you're the only guy that's been in every one of the movies, right?
Yeah, the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah.
Well, they say that about herpes too, but are you?
No, this is on the other end of the spectrum there than herpes. No, I think. Listen, I love that franchise. There's no question about it. I always thought my career was doing okay up to that point. I mean, never had to take a waiting job to support my career, but it definitely kind of kicked me up a little bit. So I'm always indebted to the American Pie franchise, and of course, there's yet another one coming out in April, the big reunion movie. Yeah. So
I saw the trailer. I had one of the solo missions into a theater the other night, and I watched the Harold and Kumar 3D movie, which was incredibly funny, and they utilized the 3D quite well.
Good.
But the trailer for American Pie Reunion was on there, and there's a key scene where it looks like you're about to get some in that moment.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the trailer,
Oh, yeah, it's
so
there.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it's there.
Well, things are getting a bit more exciting for Jim's dad. Yeah.
They certainly are. So that's one whole side of your career is that you're working, and you're right, it's been consistent, but there's the other side, which is the humanitarian stuff, the charity work that you still do. You're working with the Gilda event again, the Gilda
Right.
run. I mean, it must be such an interesting night for you, because we only know Gilda Radner, most of us, as this woman we watched on TV who made us smile.
Rosanna Dana,
Yeah,
SNL, yeah.
And you knew her as a pro bono.
Well, we all started with, working with Gilda back, in the early 70s here in Toronto in Godspell, and Second City. So we were really at the front end of Gilda's career, and she was an amazingly talented woman, very funny, very sweet, very positive, and I guess her and the Gildas Club, which are all over. Gildas Club Greater Toronto is what the benefit is for. Is kind of her legacy. When she was very ill, she kind of made it known that it's when she started going to the wellness center in Los Angeles that it kind of turned the course of her treatments, and knowing that she wasn't going through this alone, that there were other people going through the same thing, and that's what Gildas Club is. Here, people with cancer and their families go, and they get counseling, and they get trained. There are programs that help take their mind off what it is they're going through, and they're meeting other people going through the same thing, and it's all free, which is why these things are incredibly important, And this show is the 10th anniversary of the show, and it's going to be absolutely an incredible show. I mean, Russell Peters is hosting it again. Marty Short is coming up for the show. Paul Schaefer's coming up from the show, from the David Letterman show. Catherine O'Hara and I will pull out a couple of old SCTV characters that we'll do on the show, and Andrea Martin, and oh my God, Lighthouse, and Andy Kim, and it's an incredible show. So
So curious that it's just like a lot of those people you mentioned, you've been friends with for so long, that somehow the community has been able to continue and maintain itself.
Well, you know something? We went to, speaking of Godspell, Paul Schaefer, myself, Marty Short, and Andrea, and Victor Garber, all in the 1972 Toronto production of Godspell, went to the opening of Godspell on Broadway last Monday. Wow. 40 years later, it's now opening again on Broadway, and it was a pretty dazzling production.
Was it weird just to sit back and watch it go?
Yeah, it was, but the show is so different, so updated, and so kind of dazzling now that it was absolutely fun to watch, you know? And there we were, 40 years later, sitting out watching, you know, watching these kids going through the show that we all loved so much as our first professional engagement, you know?
As you get older and have done this more and more, you said 40 years, does your ability to go to that place that makes you funny, is that change? Do you have to learn different ways to be funny as your career builds?
Well, I think, you know, you can only do what you can do. I think I find it sometimes tougher, you know, the older you get. You find a lot of things kind of tough. I mean, even this is tough, coming on and talking about yourself, you know? I mean, you do it like all your career, and at some point you're thinking, okay, you know what? At some point you got to stop talking about yourself. I think it's almost like I've told every story, you know, over and over, and everything becomes less important in a way, you know, work-wise. You're less intense about the business, and when you see people who are intense about the business, especially, you know, down in Hollywood and Los Angeles, you just kind of go, wow, this is kind of, you know, it's really just entertainment. You know, you can't get that intense about it.
But did you used to be really intense about it?
I don't think I was ever really intense about anything. I've always had a very low-key kind of approach to just about everything. Although when you're younger, everything is more important. Right. You know, I mean, you want to get this job, and you want to get and what's happening here, and gee, I wonder why he got that job and I didn't get it, and all that kind of stuff. And now I really don't. You know, it doesn't bother me quite so much. I mean, I'm fortunate that, you know, I'm now in a position where if I don't really want to do something, I don't have to do it. I can just, you know, put the clubs in the car and, you know, hit the golf course, and that's what I enjoy doing just as much as, you know, just about, you know, any work. But it's harder now to find stuff that's really worth doing, kind of, you know? I mean, American Pie, they can do it from now till the end of time, and I will come back and do it because I love it so much, and I love the characters, and I love the kids that I work with. And in terms of writing, no, I haven't really written anything. The business now is you've got to be 23 and, you know, hot to you know, get something off the ground. I can't claim to understand what makes younger people laugh now, but there are young people who do, and that's what the business is now. It's all young people, you know? The executives are 34. Yeah. You know?
Is it hard to sit in a meeting when you're looking at a guy who's like, he doesn't know you from SCTV at all, he only knows you from the third American Pie movie?
Well, see, one of the things now about being at a stage where I am in my career is I really don't care what that 34-year-old thinks at all, you know? You know, I did go through those meetings in my younger days where you walk into a room and there's somebody there who really doesn't know anything, you know, about you, and they're asking you questions that, you know, are kind of putting you to sleep. And now I just, you know, I just say, excuse me, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Could you get me a coffee? Double, and, you know, and just hold that thought.
Stick around, more with Eugene Levy right after this.
You're Canadian. Has that been a burden?
No, it has not been a burden.
And you understand everything I'm saying. I don't need to speak slower.
We have the same language.
Where do Canadians go when they need to get away? Do they just go to the border and look and peer and wish?
That was 10 years ago.
10 years ago. How funny is Marty Short?
He's the best.
He's the funniest guy in the business.
Was any of that scripted? When you guys do stuff, is it scripted? Do you know what he's going to ask you?
No, Marty has some questions that are put in front of him, but by the, you know, honestly, when the camera starts rolling, he may get to 2 or 3 of the scripted questions, and the rest he just goes with. It is Jiminy Glick is one of the great creations of all time, and it's amazing how fast and how funny he is. He's never at a loss for words. He's never at a loss for a word in that character.
That's so
It's
great.
amazingly quick.
Because you've had the opportunity to work with so many greats, and even if you talk with the Christopher Guest crew, never mind just the SCTV crew, when you get onto sets where people don't really have that sophisticated level of comedic ability, do you notice it? Do you have to do more?
Well, you do notice it, and you know you've got to work maybe just a little harder, because you know that, you know, you're not going to kind of get the same give and take. You may not necessarily get what you're expecting from the people that you're working with. And I've had some experiences that were pretty scary, like, you know, fingernails on a chalkboard kind of scary kind of experiences where you're just, not a lot, but a couple that you just wouldn't want to go through twice. But you know, mostly I really have been very lucky. I've worked with people that are great, that are smart, that are funny, that you know, they're always working at the top of their game. I've had very few bad experiences, you know.
If schmengi were a noun, what would it mean? He's kind of well,
I can only answer that because when schmengi first came up in the SCTV kind of jargon, it was used as a noun, and it was used like, well, that guy's a real schmengi. And that's how it first kind of came up.
Okay.
And when John and I actually sat in his hotel room one day in Edmonton watching a local polka show, and I turned to John and I said, well, there's a couple of schmengis. And it just stuck, and that was the Schmengi brothers.
What's the key characteristic of a schmengi?
A guy who is not quite there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If it were Canadian pie, how would it be different than American pie?
If it was Canadian, yeah. I think it would have been a bunt cake.
The 10th annual It's Always Something Gala in support of Gildas Club in Greater Toronto. It's this Saturday in Toronto. Make sure you go check it out. We'll be right back. Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you.